Alright, today we're going to add a solve option to our Hangman because it's really annoying if you have a long answer and you know it, but the computer makes you type the whole thing like this. I'm doing TV shows and I'm pretty sure this is The Last of Us. But if I have to type all the way down the line, I'm probably just going to leave and walk away. So what we want to do is give them the option. If they know it, they could just type the whole thing. Just like in real life, if you know the answer, you can just shout it out. The problem is there's no obvious place to put that. If I'm looking at the getGuess function, well, it's already our biggest function aside from the main, and I don't want to make it twice as long by checking the length, and if it's one thing, we check the whole word, and if it's a single, we check the single, and if it's neither, we send them on a different path. It could be quite a mess, right? Because when we talk about the rules of how this works, well, let's do it and see what happens, okay? I'm going to add a single thing right here that says, if it's not length 1, maybe it's the whole thing. Maybe they're trying to guess the whole thing, okay? Because I don't want to ask them what kind of guess they're doing before they do it. It would be 10 times more annoying if we asked them every single turn, are you guessing a letter or the whole thing? Are you guessing a letter or the whole thing? And we made them do twice as much work. That would not solve our problem. That would make it worse, right? So I want to be able to say, if you're doing a letter, just type a letter, and that won't go away, even if we add other options, okay? So let's say, if it's not 1, we'll check if it's equal to the word. And if it is, we return from this function. We don't want to do anything else, right? And we need to have some special value for that. I'm just going to say solved in all caps. That's like our magic word that ends the game, okay? And then down here, I can say if guess equals solved, print you win, and break, which you'll notice is pretty much the same thing we did down here, so we might find a way to combine those. We'll see. Now, well, if I try to run this, we're going to have an error because, as I mentioned, the getGuess function has to grow. It's getting more stuff and more tangled up with different parts, which is a bad idea. It needs to know what the word is in order to check this thing. So we don't want it to be tangled up. I mean, the whole point of separating into functions is that this thing does one job and it doesn't need to know all of the business of everybody else. But if we add this, it's going to work for the moment. So let's see what happens here. Okay, so this is the category is TV shows, and I can tell this one is going to be The Haunting of Hill House. And it says you win. That's wonderful. If I hit enter, it starts over. That's wonderful. And guess what? I can tell this one is going to be that. And it says you win. Great. The problem is we don't penalize them for bad guesses. So I don't know if you've ever played Hangman in real life with someone who just shouts words. It's really annoying. They say entire titles or entitled people or something, and they never engage with the letter, which is what the whole game is supposed to be about. So right now, this lets you just guess TV shows, and it never penalizes you. It just goes into the one character thing. So we're not even telling them that the full guess is an option, right? We're not even saying it. So they might not know until they think of it and just try to type the whole thing. But the problem is this allows you to just keep guessing forever and not engage with the letter thing. So we could have some counter that's like, oh, if you make 10 whole guesses and you don't get them, then you instantly die. Or we could make something where, you know, if you make the decision to guess a full word, that's it. Like, you're putting your life on the line. But those would involve more code, splitting it into different paths. Let me show you. Earlier today I Googled some other Hangman projects, because this is one of the classics that's in every computer science class. And I saw one of them had a nice little branching path where if they type a single letter, it passes you into the single letter function. And if they type a whole word, it passes you into the whole word function. We could try that, but it makes it much more abstract, because in the main loop, you're multiple steps away from handling the guess, and then you have to return back through multiple. I don't know. I don't love it. However, what we've got here is working, kind of, and it's only 4 lines. I put this line, which could be 2, but since it's so tiny, I thought I would put it all in one. And then I've got this little blob of 3. Now, I don't love it, okay? Like I said, it makes our get-guess function grow and grow, because now it needs to know the word, and now it has multiple kinds of things it can return. Usually it returns a single letter, but sometimes it does this solved thing. And it forces us to repeat this kind of pattern here and here, where I'd rather just have a single endpoint of winning. So I'm really not happy with this, but it is a great starting point because it's simple and it works. If you know the answer, you can type the answer and it'll say you win. That's pretty clearly the most important thing about this, and it does do that job. So I will definitely come back to this in the next couple days, especially if we add other features, we see how they conflict with this one. But it is nice that we were able to add 4 lines, do the job, done, and then in the back of our minds we're going to have this idea of how can we make it nicer, how can we make it flow in the code, how can we make it work better with the mechanics and not be abused by a player who just keeps guessing for full words until they get it. Because right now it would do that. We'll see.